Ngeviki elidlule kungcwatshwe izingane ezinhlanu ezisolwa ngokuthi zidle ukudla okunoshevu okuthengwe ezitolo sabokufika e-Naledi eSoweto. Ingane yesithupha ishone ngeSonto ngemuva kokuhlala iviki e-ICU mbukeli. Undunankulu waseGauteng uPanyazela Sufi obesemngcwabeni uthi kufuneka kwenziwe uphenyo olunzulu mayelana nalesi sigameko. Now this incident mbukeli has led to the closure of a number of Spaza shops in the area after issues of non-compliance arose. Asikubingelele ke mbukeli sikwamukela ohlelweni Asikhulume Let's Talk. Igama lami ngingubongiwe uMakhumalo wakwaZwane. Mbukeli, before we get into the show today, tributes continue to pour in for the late former finance minister Tito Mboweni, who died on Saturday, was the Democratic South Africa's first Labour minister. He's also served as governor of the Reserve Bank. Mbukeli, khumbula ke ukuthi ungaba ingxenye lolu hlelo ngokuxhumana nathi ku-X, our handle at SABC Izindaba, ku-Facebook ke ikhasi lethu SABC Izindaba. Ukuze kubelula ke mbukeli sicela uqale ngo #Asikhulume #SABC News bese ke ubhala umbuzo noma umbono wakho. Asikhulume. Mbukeli, ngemuva kokushona kwezingane eziyisithupha e-Naledi eSoweto, ungqongqoshe wehhovisi likaMengameli uNkosazana uKhumbutso Ntshabeni uthe ikhabhinethi ikhathazekile kakhulu ngokwanda kwezehlakalo zokugula kanye nokushona kwezingane ezisuke zidle ukudla ezikuthenga kwezinye izitolo. uNkosazana uNtshabeni uphinde wathi izinhlaka ezehlukene kahulumeni ziyaqhubeka nokuhlola ukuthi lezi zitolo zibhalisiwe na. Ngaphambi kokuba singene engxoxweni yethu mbukeli namhlanje, ake sibheke umbiko we-SABC.
In the hearts
bekuwumunye wodwa njengoba imndeni kanye nabangani beyothi indlelanhle ezinganeni ezisihlanu enkonzweni yomngcwabo ibibanjele ehholo lomphakathi eNaledi. Izingane ke zichazwe imndeni yazo njebeke ezikhaliphile bezijwayele ukudlala ndawonye.
It is so sad, bana baba resileng, they've left a gaping hole in the in the hearts of the families.
There's a lot that I actually say about Karabo, but all I'm going to say right now, your laughter, your naughtiness, and your quietness. There was this one particular song that Karabo used to love to sing, but who's going to sing for us now, since he's no more?
Undunankulu waseGauteng uPanyazela Sufi usenxusa bezomthetho ukuba basebenze ngokuzikhandla baze bathola umsuka lobutho okusolwa ukuthi yiwo uholele kulenhlekelele yokushona kwezingane.
We also hope that those that have been assigned this difficult task of finding the cause of this death will execute their mandates with the necessary speed that we've given them. We've asked all the law enforcement agencies not to be narrow in their investigations, that their investigations must go beyond the boundaries of Naledi.
Ophekeleza impilo nezenhlalakahle ehhovisi lemeya uthi bazovakashela umndeni waka-Olifant ukuyoweseka.
It is very sad indeed. It is sad already that we are burying the 5 already, and to hear the tragic loss of another child, meaning now the total number is equal to 6. It's really painful, and as a city, it's very painful for us to lose such young children who we are looking forward for and hoping that they will improve the lives of their families.
Imininingwane ke ngomngcwabo wengane yesine uKatlego Olifant izomenyezela khona maduze nje.
Mbukeli, namhlanje sibuza ukuthi yini engenziwa ukugwema ukuhamba kwezingane emhlabeni ngalesi sihluku. Is it non-compliance? Or is there something deeper going on? Asamukele ivakashi zethu Zandile Dabula ongumongameli we-Operation Dudula kanye no-Amir Sheikh ongosihlalo we-African Diaspora Forum. Let me welcome you both and thank you so much for your time. Zandile, I'm going to start with you. What's going on if we're seeing our children in the township so young and they're losing their lives in such a manner?
Good evening to you and to the viewers at home. Thank you for having us. But let me start by sending my deepest condolences to the families. I mean, the 6th child died whilst we were at the funeral service of the 4 young children. But I still say that the ignorance of our own government is putting us in this whole mess. I mean, we've got bylaws in this country. We do have people that need to be inspecting all of these stores. But also, I'm going to also blame this on people that are not law-abiding to the laws of this country, because people come here in this country illegally and they still do illegal activities. Now, I'm going to come back to the food that our communities are purchasing in those stores. I'm sure we've all seen it in the interviews that they sell expired food, food that is actually not good for consumption. And it's a fact, we've seen that. Where do they get these foods? Where do they stock their products? Because, I mean, we still have some few locals who own spaza shops, but we don't see them at those, on those queues, like your likes of Macro and all that. We don't see them. But where do they get their stock? Now, our government is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Health inspectors, we don't see them anyway. We're only seeing them every time when there are incidents. So they are reactionary, they are not proactive.
So for you, Amir, what is causing what we're seeing?
First of all, thank you very much for inviting us. My sincere, also heartfelt condolence to the family of the 6. I'm a parent and I understand the pain they're undergoing. And it's truly traumatic when this incident is repeating itself for the second time in the same, actually, you know, suburb or township in the same month. There is a lot of questions that people need to ask themselves. Why e-Naledi? Why the month of October? Why children? And who is behind this? While I will not actually, you know, preempt the investigation or the toxicology actually report, and we will wait for the outcome of it, our heart goes out actually to the family.
But what do you say when you answer yourself to the questions you've just raised?
No, the thing itself, I agree actually, you know, for the first time and wholeheartedly with actually the president of the Dudula. It all boils up to the issue of actually compliance. The non-compliance in the township is actually a factor. We are in a country that have got the best democracy in the continent, the best constitution, man-made constitution in it, but it lacks actually implementation. In other parts of Africa, I represent a federation of migrant association that's more than 38 countries. But the unfortunate aspect is what we cannot do back at home, we can actually do it here because there is no actually inspection. Back at home, you cannot even open a business unless you have got your property is compliant, you yourself, you are compliant, the food you are selling, and to a certain extent even we are even forced to portray every document and permit, including even that of the president and the governor of that country.
So it sounds like it's...
They understand everything. They understand the laws, but they're not following the laws of this country. That's the thing. I'm shocked that Amir knows how they're supposed to be operating, how they're supposed to be investing and all that, but it's not happening. And I mean, we can blame the government, but we're also blaming them, because if Amir knows what needs to be done, then he's supposed to be educating his colleagues or brothers and whatsoever. But the thing is, it's boiling now. Communities are angry. You know, our brothers and sisters fought apartheid with bricks. And I tell you, in Soweto, people are fuming. They no longer want foreign-owned spaza shops. I'm going to come back to the township economy. It needs to be reserved for locals. Why are we still having so many foreign-owned spaza shops in our township? I mean, in each and every corner in our townships, you find the foreign-owned spaza shops. It's been the competition for our own people.
How do you contend those, Andile, with those who are saying, for example, because this is not the first time we're finding ourselves here, those who are saying that for them, they would much rather have someone who runs the shop because they're going to be able to get a stable income. It's going to be stable for the month. They know exactly how much they're getting, versus if they were to start a spaza shop, they're not sure how much they will be able to make. There are people who have that view.
Okay, so that's why there are programs where our own South Africans are going to be trained on how to operate spaza shops. I mean, we also have people who owned spaza shops before they came through. It's just they had to close down because competition was too high. We have people that have interest and who are capable of running spaza shops, but there is no space for them. So until the foreign-owned spaza shop move from our townships, give space for our own South Africans, then there will be peace. I mean, township economy 900 billion is a lot of money.
Amir, what do you say to what Zandile is saying?
No, the fact of it is that actually the president, anger and all that is directed actually at the wrong person and at the wrong people at the same time. Sincerely speaking, there are countries that are within our neighbor. Let's start with Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe, in Ghana, in many other places, these actually retail industries are only earmarked for the local South Africans, for the locals or the native of that country, let me say it that way. But in South Africa today, you can actually do its business because the documentation that the vast majority of these migrants, irrespective of whether one hold a Section 22 or 24 permit, which is a asylum seeker or a refugee, allow them to actually trade and allow them to work. But if there is no that, and then a person can actually do, it is a government responsibility to earmark certain actually aspect for the locals. But many programs that actually the government come with, let's start with the Ikondisa Ishishini Lako, where the locals were given some money to make actually their everything. It never worked. It was followed by the Township Revitalization Program, which was a failure. It was 2 years ago when Premier David Makura signed actually the township this money and the billions, which actually we do not see. So there are those who are sowing seed of actually mistrust and saying we don't want them. But even if we leave, I'm sure that at least that market will not be run effectively by the locals.
So yes, asylum seekers do allow them to trade. But does it give you a right to be inhuman and feed people expired goods? Does it allow you to carry guns? That's another thing, because they also carry guns. They shoot at our own people. I mean, in the past day, we saw a video from Ngeviki where two girls were standing at the door of the shop, and the guy came with the gun and shot at one of them. And we had an incident.
Been verified? Do you know if there's a police case?
Yes. It has been verified because I went to go and investigate if this is true or not, and yes, it is. We had a case in White City in Soweto where a 21-year-old boy was shot by the same, whether it's a Pakistani or Bangladesh, but we do have those cases. It doesn't give them the right to do all these wrong things because they carry an asylum seeker.
What do you say, though, to something he's raising, to say that there have been efforts to try and revitalize the economy in the townships? They've not borne any fruit. He's even saying that if they were to leave the townships, it doesn't mean that it's going to actually work. So I want you to think about that, answer it as soon as we come back from the break. Mugel Siabui. Bukela siphinde sikwamukele ku-Asikhulume Let's Talk. Igama lami ngingubongiwe uMakhumalo wakwaZwane. Sisahleli nazo ihambeli zethu uZandile Dabula, ungumengameli we-Operation Dudula, kanye no-Amir Sheikh ongusihlalo we-African Diaspora Forum. Now, Zandile, we were still talking about the fact that Amir says even if they leave the townships to be, for the Spaza shops to be run by the locals, nothing is going to get off the ground.
We had Spaza shops before they came to this country, and we lived. So what makes them think that even after they have gone, we won't make it? I mean, we did not have so many Spaza shops, especially in our townships. But manje, in each and every corner, there's what's happening? What are they selling? Why do they afford so much rent? How do you afford when you're a Spaza shop owner? You are able to pay a rent of about 4,000 rand. What else are you selling in your container? It's very scary. And we're also asking ourselves, hey, even if you make a profit when at your own space, in your own corner, you won't be able to afford the rent here, 4,000 rand.
That's a serious allegation, Amir. What else are they
but it needs to be substantiated, whatever they call it. The truth of the matter is, we do not do business in the darkness. The Spaza shop, whether it is a Spaza, a Spazarette, whether it is a convenience store or a cash and carry, is actually open to the public. Sister Zandi can come in, the president, and actually look at everything that we are selling. I never thought we will be blamed for selling goods closer to the community and at a reasonable price, Because what most of our members actually do is that we sell essential, what they call it, the first moving consumable goods. If these townships are not within, let's say 34, 38 townships that make Soweto, it could have actually forced the grannies who are recipients of actually SASA grant to take a taxi for an essential good like bread to the mall or actually to a spa or many things. So I thought we brought even these things closer, and at least we will be appreciated for that. As per what we sell, it is actually open for the public. It's open for everybody. Let the president make a tour. I'm more than willing to accompany her so that we can go and see and inspect and see what we'll sell. But the issue of non-compliance is there.
How do we appreciate people who are selling rotten food to us? We've been operating in these spaza shops. I mean, the president of this country had once labeled us as a xenophobic group because we wanted to see what's happening in those stores. We went and we found ukuthi, the products that are in stores are expired. Amanye, they even changed dates. You could see ukuthi, the expiry date is rubbed off. And manje, the inspectors are closing all of these stores. If there was nothing wrong in those stores, why are they clamping them down? That's the question. Why are they closing the stores down? And I mean, it's an obvious case. This thing happened last year. It's happening again this year where kids buy snacks. And because they all play together, they eat those snacks and they all pass on.
So, Zandile, before I go back to Amir, today I was in conversation with an official from Ekurhuleni, who's in the environmental department. And they were saying that for them, what they are finding is that in some of the cases, particularly that took place last year, one of the cases, they could not link it to what the children bought at a spaza shop. It was because of sandwiches that were prepared at home that they found traces of halipirimi, for example.
Okay.
And then they were also talking about the fact that in some of the cases, you find, someone who runs a spaza shop or is a hawker, they don't know how to handle the food because they're trying to deal with rodents, and then they are going to then, unfortunately, use the chemicals, and then there's cross-contamination. How much of a factor is that as well, given the fact that sometimes some people don't know how to store food?
That's another thing. If you look at the shops that they are owning, in the same aisle, you find soap and you find food. It's not supposed to be like that. That might be the reasons why kids are dying, because you're mixing chemicals and food. It's not supposed to be like that. I mean, their stores are so they're not compliant with the regulations. Yes, we are blaming our own government because they don't check, they don't see what's happening inside of those containers. But it's not good for consumption, that's all I can say, because looking at all the spaza shops, I mean, we've been watching the television, we see all the social media. All the rounds that the videos we're seeing here on social media platforms, they're selling food that is not good for consumption. That's a fact.
Amir, when we come back, I want to understand, is it because, like you said earlier, they are aware of these bylaws, they're violating them, or they do not understand these bylaws because nobody is enforcing them, as Zandile is saying, or they simply are choosing to disregard the laws of this country? And how do you plan to deal with that? Mbogel, agasiya itolo, siyabuya khona manje. Mbogeli sesiphetha ake sibheke isombululo zalenkinga. Amir, we were talking about this. Is it because some of the people that you are aware of who are owning the spaza shops are simply breaking the laws because they don't understand the language that is being spoken or they're written in, or what's going on there? No, the language barrier is actually there because the vast majority of these actually spaza shops of late are owned by one ethnic group, the Ethiopian nationals. But the terminologies like the Ama Pakistan, Ama Somalias are there. For example, if I even give you, in the area of Naledi, that is only dominated by one segment of the population, which is the Ethiopian population. Naledi, Tladi, Mdeni, and actually the surrounding. But coming to the disregard, I don't think they are disregarding actually because they know it, and actually they are just disregarding it. There is no education on bylaws at all.
And enforcement comes only after education.
So they don't know that soap is not supposed to be kept next to
No,
bread,
that is common sense. Okay, mixing detergent with food is common sense. That they are not lacking. Actually, if you are running business and you are running business, which is actually now a fast-moving consumables, the edible foods, it is common sense actually to separate these two things. But one thing that I would actually like to put because of the timing is the president is actually selective and very selective and biased toward the migrant. But very recently, and I think 2 years ago, when the former MEC for Community Services, Umama Face Mazibuko, went and actually, full enforcement, most of these actually businesses that were closed were these businesses that were regarded high, your likes of actually ShopRite, your likes of USave and etc. That was selling actually rotten meat and rotten vegetables and everything to the community. But I will actually wish the president will one day actually, see, and rather than concentrating much on the migrant businesses, will actually see that the common factors is not only them, there are others that at least they need actually to go and look at.
As a final question for you, Zandile, as we wrap up, who do we hold to account?
So we hold both of them to account. Our government for not implementing these laws, and for them to come into our country. Some of them are illegal, some of them, yes, are legal. But even if they are legal in this country, they need to give us space, especially in the township economy. Now it's time for us as South Africans to reclaim the township economy back into the hands of South Africans, and that's what we're doing currently. In the next on Thursday, we will have a media briefing of a few united political parties, because we will be replacing Spaza shops in e-Naledi. We will have a media briefing because as of next week, Monday, we are replacing the stores.
So are you then also going to take him up on his offer to go and inspect where he says you must go?
No, we know. Remember, officials are busy inspecting and they're closing down all of their Spaza shops. There's no one store that the government has left and said, no, this one is compliant. There isn't. So it means all of them are doing the same thing, because we've seen it, we've witnessed it. It's been 4 years, Operation Tutula on the ground. But what I'm saying is people are tired. They must leave us. They must live in the township. Right. They must go back home.
No, contrary to what actually the president is saying, the MMC for health in the city of Johannesburg was very recently, 2 days ago on SABC, where she said the shop in question where the children bought the snack was actually on the month of August inspected, and the shop was compliant. So the issue of compliance is there. Most of the shops are compliant, but where there is a challenge, we are more than willing to actually work with progressive forces that are more than willing, at least,
We can't have 90% of shops that are non-compliant and say everything is fine.
It sounds like we need either a part 2 with some members of the community to be able to get to the bottom of what exactly is going on here, and get to flesh out from the view of some of, the people in the townships, what exactly do they want. But thank you so much for your time to also help us to try and make sense of what exactly is going on. Mbukeli, ake sibonge futhi ehambeleni zethu uZandile uDabula ongumengameli we-Operation Dudula kanye no-Amir Sheikh ongusihlalo we-African Diaspora Forum. uMakhumalo wakwazwane kanye nethimba le-Asikhulume sithi ayixabene.